checkerboard floor. So hopefully this is a second stab at doing this video. I'm here with Mum with slowly recovering eyes.
Hopefully.
Chink our little glasses here. Ching. Well, we did a video last night. We're not going to do any more after this for a little while because we've got a load of things coming up, and most of the news is a bit dull these days, isn't it? There's a couple of interesting news stories, but I had such a rant last night. I was absolutely fuming, and probably not a good place to sort of be, right? Poor old Mum's ears. But I can't remember what happened yesterday, why this subject came up again so close to the other one. But as you can see on the screen, what this is to do with... Now, first thing I was going to say is, and I got pulled up on it, and rightly so, I must not eat crisps whilst we're doing videos because I had no idea how much it would pick it up and how horrible it would sound. So, sorry about that. And also, our old mate Fiery, thanks for the message, and also about the problem with your eyes and other people as well.
Well, I'm glad it's not just me. I think it's evidence, if you want to call it that maybe something is going on.
And has been for a long time.
Oh, yes.
And again, the point of these little videos, and we'll try and keep this one really short, is because you know, you can obviously go and have a look yourself, which you know about all of this, right? This is what's so funny. Now, we know it's old Wikipedia, right? A load of old rubbish, and anybody can add things and take things out and so on, but it's the other companies' information that they list that you have to go and have a look at afterwards, right? And I'm just going to use this as an example because we used to get, on a few of our videos, we got the little criminal wiki banner at the bottom telling us we were out of our minds and don't be so stupid. So all of us here know the chemtrail conspiracy theory. Now, the word theory, you see, this is where everybody sort of gets not misguided, but the theory means something that's not proven, right? Yeah. It's a theory. That doesn't mean something that doesn't exist. So if you have Newton's theory of gravity, right, or Darwin's theory of evolution, that means something not proven, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can't turn around and say, oh no, those are real, but this is stupid, right? If you get my gist, you know what I'm saying, right? So anyway, and what it says here is, as you all know, it says here is the belief that long-lasting condensation trails left in the sky by high-flying aircraft are actually, as you can see here, of chemical or biological agents sprayed for nefarious purposes, blah, 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 right? So we know all this stuff. We know about all this. Of course, they have to put in the little, you know, they have to put in, where is it, the old pyramid and all this sort of stuff, just to try and make you sort of look bad, right? But the funny thing about it is, when you go to this page, they are telling you exactly what is in these trails or coming out the back of these jet planes, right? And the impact that it is having basically on the people underneath, and including the people that work at the airports and the engineers and mechanics and stuff like that. And I know, you know, it's a bit hypocritical to say because we've all been on aeroplanes. I personally won't go on an aeroplane ever again.
Oh, no.
No. And it's not just because of this, it's just because I don't want to go to the airport, but you know, you can't say, yeah, this is all terrible. By the way, we're destroying our world, but where's my tickets to Alicante, can you? Right? So, and I would say where we are, we're in the southwest, of France, and we are right now in, all you can say is a major flight path. And one of the things that I said yesterday, and I think again this is a good thing for people to use, and it's quite obvious. Throughout life we have a choice, right?
Yeah.
Don't we? We brought this up yesterday, right? We chose to live here. A lot of people choose to live in a city, and they like that. That's a choice, right? We all had a choice whether to go along and get tickets for Britney Spears in 2020 and believe their nonsense or not. Some people went along with it, some people didn't. Or should I say most people went along with it. That is a choice, right? We have a choice what car to buy. We have a choice whether to get in debt. We have a choice where to put our money, what bank to put it in. We have a choice whether to eat meat or not, or whether to just eat vegetables. It's all a choice, right? But these clowns, these aviation bods, are giving you no choice. Because you can't get away from it now, right? And that's something that seems to be avoided in conversation. We've looked through various, the Sea of Sea change sites and everything that all talk about all these different things that are causing the problem with our world today. Yet they all seem to avoid aviation. And as you can see here, or you will see in this, and again, there's too much in here to read through. But the points that are made about water pollution and you name it, right?
Well, it's all
here in black and white, right? So it's quite funny that they use the picture here, and then on the other one telling you that you're all lunatics, they also use the same picture. So it goes through the list of various things that are coming out of these planes. And if you can hear the fan going in the background, I think it's because the old computer's struggling a bit because it's so warm at the moment, last couple of days. So again, excuse that sound. But they're talking about the lead. We said yesterday, it's quite funny, Mum pointed out, she goes, isn't it funny that this just happens to be highlighted in purple, old Serge's favourite colour. So, noise and particulates, right, from fossil fuel. Now, again, a lot of us that have looked into this sort of believe that really there's, the way they've maintained these planes fly, they're probably not all fuel powered. They can't really hold the capacity that they maintain. But when you look at the amount of planes, and let's just say again, for example, you don't want to live in the city, you don't want to live by a motorway, right? Some people don't have a problem with that, but some people don't want to do that. So they get their family, all kit and caboodle, they move out to a place like this, and now you've got the motorway in the sky, the relentless, non-stop of aeroplanes, which, according to this article here, is only going to get worse and worse and worse. In fact, at one point in here, it talks about by 300% in the next X amount of years. Well, they always like to use the old 2050, don't they? If anybody's still left around by that point in time. But this is quite interesting because they're basically admitting to the public that, yeah, we're basically poisoning you for the purpose of people going on cheap holidays, right?
Yeah.
Because when you look at, again, the demographic, now we know that there are stuff needs to be shipped, goods come in from other countries, they have to be flown in and so on and so forth, mail, whatever, air mail and so on, right? But as we've said before, again, going over the same old stuff, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, you never saw any of that here at all. And we've looked back at some pictures, and old Sam, he's done some original videos back in London where you do see these hovering trails and everything. But of course, it's amped up now. And as you saw in our video the other day that me and Serge did, you know, again, we were whited out. Now, if any of you believe in Newton and gravity, right, if you believe that, the line of what goes up must come down. So whatever's being pumped out has to come down, and it has to settle on us, on the soil, everything we grow, everything. You're washing out on the line. So let's just say the possibility that this is being done on purpose and for an effect, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's got to have an effect somewhere,
Yeah.
hasn't it?
Yeah.
Whatever goes up comes down.
That's
so
right.
It's going to land somewhere.
Yeah. Now I know somebody's going to say, well, you know, that it would affect them as well, right? That it would affect those that do it, right? Maybe it does. Maybe the people at Matt's Creepy Table don't suffer from anything. I don't know. You don't know. You just don't know. But I would look at this page, environmental impact of aviation. It's quite a long page, and here you can see between 1940 and 2018, aviation CO2 emissions grew from 0.7% to 2.65% of all CO2 emissions, right? Which doesn't seem like a lot until you start reading closer into this. By 2020, of course, they always have to keep pumping 2020 and everything. It's always 2020, isn't it? Right? In all these articles, you'll see it's 2020. Aviation emissions were 70% higher than in 2005. So in 15 years, they were 70% higher. And they could grow by 300%. Now, we know a lot of this stuff is shit, right? So here we go. Aircraft noise pollution disrupts sleep. So when those wankers in those Air Force jets are flying over our houses at 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
I wonder how those pilots would feel if I pulled a van up outside their house and started pounding 7 pounds of shit out of my drums. They wouldn't be too happy about that. But you see, Gary, that's not a necessity. They're training, right? But nevertheless, here it says, air noise pollution disrupts sleep. Children's education could increase. Cardiovascular risk. Airports can generate water pollution due to their extensive handling of jet fuel, de-icing chemicals, if not contained, contaminating nearby water bodies. Aviation activities emit ozone and ultrafine particles, both of which are of a health hazard. Piston engines used in general aviation burn Avgas, releasing toxic lead. Now we know about that because apparently they took toxic lead out of petrol for cars, didn't they? Lead-free petrol. And here you have lead poisoning, also known as plumbism, and isn't it funny? And Saturnism.
Right.
Look, Saturn. Right? We all know about the Saturn, don't we? Is a type of metal poisoning caused by the presence of lead in the human bodies. Symptoms of lead poisoning may include abdominal pain, constipation, headaches, irritability, well that's me then, isn't it? Memory problems, infertility, numbness and tingling, it just goes on and on and on, right? So they're also concerned about saving the world, yet tens of thousands of planes with apparently holidaymakers are just jetting off to the sun, ironically jetting off to the sun that they seem to be blocking out at the same time. All a clown show, right? But again, when you read through all of this, And these organisations, I said this one last night, just happens to have the little old you-know-what sign here, right? None of these organisations have any intention of addressing and having something about this done. None of them. Because I maintain that they are run by exactly the same people that do this in the first place. So it makes it look like they're doing something, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so this, like I said, this goes through the list of all the different things that these planes emit, and how basically every single one of them is bad for you. The International Energy Agency projects aviation share of spinning ball Earth CO2 emissions may grow from 2.5% in 2019 to 3.5% in 2030, right? Meanwhile, they're trying to get people to buy electric cars, and people that are buying electric cars think they are helping with the slowing down of a certain fake event. And we know they are. That we know our climate is changing, as we've said before, because it's them that's doing it. So anyway, this little list here, this is pretty interesting stuff. And if you want to get into one with somebody, this is basically the place to go. And when they talk about mitigation, solar-powered aircraft, I mean, look at this thing. Really, when do you think that is going to come into play? And what mitigation actually means, which is the research into life-threatening, basically life-threatening things, events, this being one of the big ones. And what it also says in here, sorry I'm scrolling up, it says here that, I can't see where it is now. Anyway, Mum pulled up on this one where there's one of the big airlines is now investing its money in machines like old Billy Girl Gates, which of course is all rubbish as well, for sucking CO2 out of the air. That's their answer to it, is to suck out what they're putting in the first place. Well, here's an answer. Find a way not to put it in the first place, right? Yeah. Oh, it's easier said than done, Mr. King. I'm sure it is. And of course they go hydrogen-powered aircraft. They go through all this nonsense and rubbish, right? Electrofuels, e-fuels. Well, they have to make electric out something, don't they? Which apparently causes a problem as well. So again, it's just round and round in circles. But I thought this was interesting to read. But more interesting than this is to go and look at some of the sites that this brings up. I thought this was quite funny. In Sweden, the concept of flight shame has been cited as a cause of falling air travel. So you think, well, that's a good idea, right? 4%. 4%. That's nothing, is it?
It sounds very low to me.
Right. So anyway, climate change mitigation. Decarbonisation is an action to limit the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere that cause climate change. Climate change mitigation actions include conserving energy and replacing fossil fuels. Right? Great, fantastic. What about all these aeroplanes then? So anyway, like I said, I think this is, and what it also says is, which was quite funny because we know about all this, is what it says is they don't care what these airlines do. They don't care what they pump into the air, as long as they're prepared to pay a fee for it, like a tax on it. So that's all right, isn't it? That's like a bloke going into prison for murder, paying the court to let him out, and going out and doing the same thing again, isn't it? Really, if you look at it like that. So anyway, this is quite an interesting read, and it will, and I'm sure you've all looked at it before, but better than that is when you start coming to some of these sites here, right? And this is a good one for all our UK brothers and sisters. Campaign on aviation's impact for people and the environment. And as we said, people go on holiday and all that, that's fine. But apparently, like I said, we're all being poisoned. So old Billy Bob and his family can nip off 3 times a year to Alicante.
Well, you read, didn't you,
whilst
about
being
the
in debt.
average family go on holiday?
Yeah, 3 times a year. The average family now, it says, and of course, all these statistics we know are made up. But due to the very low costs of flights, people can just nip off for weekends, and you've literally got nothing but planes in the sky. Now, what was interesting on this site, and I will link all these up because I think these are good for you to go and look at. This is up to date, April, right? And I'm going to write to these people and say to them, basically, not doing a very good job, are you? And again, like we said, for those people that go out and protest and stand in a field or in Trafalgar Square with cardboard banners, tie-dyed clothes and washed out green hair, all shouting their mouths off, and very commendable. You're wasting your time. They're laughing at you. You should know that by now. Go to the head of the aviation department, wherever it is in the UK, and muck their day up.
Yeah,
stop them. Make it difficult for them to get into work. You know what I mean? But you won't do that, you see, because the police will turn up and then you'll be added up for a breach of the peace. And it's like we said about the farmers here. We've still got this thing going on with the farmers, and they're not really getting a lot of support because instead of targeting the people that are causing the problems for them, they target the public by setting fire to roundabouts and stuff like that, don't they?
Yes, yeah, making the ordinary people's way of life more difficult.
Yeah, so that never works, right? But basically, you know what I'm saying, right? This is just one site that talks about the problems and not necessarily how easily it can be resolved. Airports emit forms of air pollution, blah, blah, blah. We're going through all that. It's the same stuff, right? But it goes into sort of slightly finer details. What should be done to combat these ultrafine particles from aviation, right? Now, it says that most planes fly at a certain altitude because, as we all know, the air's a bit thinner, it's more efficient, and more cost effective. But if the planes flew at 2,000 feet lower, the ticket prices might go up a bit and so on and so forth, but the emissions would literally drop to half of what they're doing. So why don't they make the pilots fly slightly lower then? That's my question. And I know there's going to be some smart arse out there with the answer, right? But it still doesn't alter the fact that that we're basically being poisoned on a daily basis. We've known it for years, and now they're admitting it. And this goes back into that geoengineering thing that we talked about, where I put the list of sites that you can go and look at of all the companies that are admitting to geoengineering, to tampering with the weather, to pumping shit in the air. And as of 2025, middle of 2025, oh yes, we're all considering using commercial jets to pump sulphur dioxide into the air. And you can read up on all of that, right? So I recommend looking at some of these sites. Probably a bloody good bedtime read.
It's certainly an eye-opener, isn't it?
Yeah, and people like... So this was quite good here. This is what the UK government think. Over the past year, the government has been busy naming so-called blockers to the aspirations to build, and has been explicit in its hostility towards them and legal changes to its decisions. Yet it has ignored advice from the advice of experts, and has failed to back up the claims that of those identified as blockers really are holding up economic growth. So, as long as you carry on and they get their economic growth, they don't care if everybody gets ill.
No.
If kids, and that was my point last night. You parents, right? Okay, there's a certain group of parents that I just cannot deal with, right? And they're nearly all around a certain age group, right? But it's your kids who are going to suffer in the end, right?
Yeah.
And it in one of the articles that you will see, I think it's either on this site here, it says approximately how many premature deaths are created every year due to aviation, or what aviation causes, and that's not crashes. And I'm sure the amount that they quote is considerably higher. So they're telling you, like they do with everything, all in plain sight, exactly what they're doing, right? And I think that this is from February of this year. And as we said when Mum was sitting outside, now we had a very, very, very hot day today, very clear out, not a line in the sky. Lots of planes, but not a line in the sky. How is that possible then? How is it possible that yesterday was chock-a-block and today it isn't? Same temperature as yesterday. But you see, Gary, the winds have changed and the atmosphere is slightly different up there. Bullshit. We watched a plane fly over with another one right next to it. One plane had shit coming out the back of it, the other plane didn't. How is that possible? Right. So what we did was we'll get rid of this now, because this, again, we don't want this to go on too long. We decided to have a look and see what a plane costs to buy, what it costs to keep it in the air, right? And what pilots get paid, right? So there's a lot of conflicting reports that some pilots can earn up to 700 grand a year, right, on these long haul 777s, 747s and stuff like that. Well, when you look at the logistics of, just say, we'll use EasyJet as the target here, because we see probably more of them than anything, don't we?
We do now. Yes.
Right, with the unmistakable orange tail and that. So it says here, EasyJet has 355 aircraft, right? So when you look at the cost, 355 times 100 million, that's 35 billion, isn't it? Didn't I say it's 35 billion something? So they've had to cough up 35 billion quid over the last, I don't know how many years, just to have the planes in the first place. That doesn't include all the other stuff that goes along with it, right? And we were saying that how they can make a profit on these tickets, and we were looking at the prices of tickets, $40, $29.99, €90, and so on, with planes that are only apparently half full. How do they make a profit? Quite interesting to look at it and add up the numbers. So recently, EasyJet just bought 100 new generation A320s. At list prices, the plane should cost the carrier in excess of $11 billion, 7 billion quid. So, but EasyJet, clever old company, they negotiated a substantial discount. But like I said, when you look at what it costs to have a plane in the air for an hour, right? Again, there's a lot of conflicting stories. through the sphincter net of what it costs. But you're looking at roughly £8 grand an hour for an EasyJet sort of style plane, and they have 3 different sizes apparently. £8 grand an hour. So that means on an hour and a half flight, that's like 12 grand, right?
Yeah.
12 grand. They've got to make 12 grand before any airport taxes, maintenance, you name it. That's what they've got to make, right? And like we said, in February, hundreds of planes in the air. I can't believe people flying in February.
No.
Right. Anyway, the main point of this, like I said, was really to sort of, after what we did yesterday, was to just bring this up again. And again, call Wikipedia out. Because when they turn around and tell you, put your little blue banner on there and say that you're one of those people, and yet on their other page they're telling you, no, you're 100% right. These are chemical traits that are coming out with this fuel. Even if you take out that is a chemical trail and just say, well, that's vapor, but what's it got in it? Right? And then you can have a look and it tells you what it's got in it. And every single one of those has a chemical concentrate, is that what it's called? Right. Okay, so you can read up on that, and every one of them says to you, harmful if inhaled.
By us.
By us. And we are starting to think to ourselves, well,
maybe that's why we've got this, maybe that's why this is happening.
And they've been amping it up big time. And like I said, when you look at like the soil, like old Fiery said with the soil, we had months of this before planting started, and a lot of that stuff, I mean, our forest looks fantastic, the leaves are incredible on the trees, but our veg is suffering this year. It's taken a long time to get going. So I don't know, but I was rather incensed yesterday. And I've actually saved the video because I'm going to send it to Serge anyway because I think it'd make him laugh. But I did a lot of swearing, and then I realised once again that this morning, once I'd calmed down a little bit and drunk 8 glasses of wine, that they were getting their own way again by rubbing me up the wrong way. But these pilots know exactly what they're doing, and they know exactly who they work for, and it's only going to get worse. And if you think they were up to something with the convid, this thing is not going to go away, because it's going to get worse and worse and worse. More people that want to go on holidays. You know, we were saying back in the day, and I'm not knocking people for going on holiday, so you can't throw that one at me. But back in the day, like when I went on my first holiday with my first proper girlfriend, I suppose, we had to save up for nearly a year to go to Greece, right? Mm-hmm. And then me and Sarah went when I was married. I think we went to Greece, was our first holiday then. Yeah, we went to Greece before we got married, right? We had to save up, and she earned good money as well, and we had to save up. Now you look at these bods, these Instagram bods, flying off to Australia, to Bangkok and places like that, whilst owing thousands in student loans because they can jump on a plane for cheap. Now I know there's, you've got to pay to park, you've got to pay to get to the airport and everything, but nevertheless. So when you hear these clown government officials talking about how we're going to start to restrict planes, no, you're not going to start to restrict planes because you're the ones that are pushing it. And you can see how much these things cost. 11,150 per hour, average purchase price of a A390 is $89,000, up to 100 grand, some of them depending. So anyway, there you go. But on that note, we're just going to have a quick look at this here, just to shame a few people, maybe, I don't know. The electric car scam. Now we use lithium ion batteries, right? So we're just as bad. I've got one in my flashlight. I think that's what my drills are, right? But the bods that buy these electric cars or people that buy electric cars who are thinking they're doing the right thing, right?
Well,
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Certainly the people we know.
Yeah.
They're doing the right thing.
They think they're doing the right thing. They're going to help with all this problem, not realising that electricity's got to come from somewhere. Now we all believe that they're able to pull this out of the air. That's another story in itself. But I was looking into, now as we've said before, look at this, images may be subject to copyright. Well, why is it on here then? On the Financial Post. But when you look at some of these pictures, right, you've got to ask yourself, now we know we've brought these subjects up before and we've said, yes, it's very easy for them to stage these pictures, bring in the cute little kids and all that. We know about all that, so we're not buying into it as well. But let's just say, potentially, that this is real. And these poor little sods are in this hole being forced to do these jobs, right? You know, little girls doing it. Kind of something you perhaps should show your kids and say to them, you know, next time you bitch and moan about the fact that your cell phone hasn't got a signal and you're only 12, perhaps you ought to show them some of these pictures and say, how would you like to be one of these little fellas or whatever, right? And it's like the blood diamond thing, isn't it? You know, a diamond's worth nothing. The diamond has no purpose whatsoever, right? It's just a stone. Yeah, you can't fix the world with a diamond. I know you can put diamonds on tips of things and cut marble and shit like that, but basically a diamond ring is worth nothing. And these little kids have to deal with this stuff, apparently. So the people that buy these cars who think that, well, because I've got a plug-in car, I'm helping with these problems, need to take a step back and have a look and see how these things are made and who has to suffer for this.
Yeah.
The funny thing about this is that one of the biggest culprits for this, again apparently, is the Congo. So I thought I'll have a quick look and see if the Congo is part of the United Nations. The Congo.
Don't hear much about the Congo.
Don't hear much of it. No, because they don't want you to.
No.
There's all kinds of skullduggery going on out there, I can assure you. So once again, what we talked about Africa, they're making all this rain, right? Going to make all this rain and so on and so forth. They just can't seem to send it down Africa way. I mean, Africa gets some rain, but lots of areas don't, do they? It's constantly in drought. So the Congo is indeed a member of the United Nations, joined on September the 20th, 1960. So you would think in a real world that this country would not allow their children to have to do this shit, wouldn't you?
You would think.
Now that's where we know that the reality is a fake reality, because it is allowed to go on and nobody seems to care about these. Well, and it's, you know, there's some adults have to do it as well, but nobody seems to give a toss, right? There's old WIKI Musk. You know, you imagine sitting out there doing this. If this is real, if it's true, right? But nevertheless, what would you rather be? This little one here, this little lad here, this little kid here, or this little kid here? Take your pick. So when your little kid here is moaning, show them some pictures like that and say, you know, have a look at this. What do you think of this? But again, the point of bringing this up is that these organisations, these CFC change, that don't get back to you, by the way, when you email them. I've emailed them twice now.
Yeah.
They don't seem to show any concern for all of these kids. Where's old Sir Bob? Sorry, old Geldof. That dodgy bloke. Because we know that was all a scam. But nevertheless, that's what I wanted to bring up. I just wanted to bring up these pointers. And yeah, we know we can't save everybody. We know some people get dealt a very, very bad card, I suppose you would say. But nevertheless, when you think you are doing something to help and you're actually adding to the problem in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Basically. So that's what I wanted to say. And I'll have a listen back to my other one. Maybe I'll do it as a after hours late night special. You
Yes,
can listen to me having a right old go and calling out everybody under the sun, which was probably a bit unfair, but there you go. And in the other video, we also did a video. Oh, not a video. We did part of the video was to do with a little bit of controversy that's been going on apparently. And I wasn't going to bring this up, but I'll bring it up now if I can. There's old. Which is this person. Now, I'm not going to go into it again, but old Serge sent me this. He goes, here, check this. This is this tennis player, right? Well, what can one say, really?
Well, the first thing I said was, no woman stands like that. Good grief.
And I only brought this up just to put a light spin on it because, of course, this is all, this is pushing the old yellow and blue, Belarus. Now, as you can see in this picture here, the question, of course, this is the old, what's it tongue, isn't it? The Cali. The Cali tongue, right? What kind of professional person does this shit? The answer is none. And then Mum pointed out and said, because we, you know, it's quite obvious that this is not who it says it is, right? That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And when old Mark, Mr. E, talks about, you know, they always bear one shoulder and all that kind of stuff, I said, in this picture, the only thing that this person is not doing is bearing the one shoulder. And Mum said, au contraire. And you said...
Yes. There's only one bra strap.
There's only one sports bra strap, right?
Yeah.
This person is indeed bearing one shoulder.
Yeah.
And because of the way I've got this thingy, you can't see the hair. You can't see the hair, right? And of course, this looks like old
Katie Price.
Katie Price, right? Old Kev Katie Price. Had all the old, already getting the old facial surgeries. Of course, the old belly button's covered up. They love to cover up the belly button. Pair of fake boobs, and all of a sudden you're... and this kind of just like sums it up. I found some pretty grim pictures. I'm not saying this person is not a great tennis player.
No.
But this person's also an actor. That's why there's all this controversy. But it was quite funny that old Serge pulled this up and said, come on. But again, these are the people that are influencing other people, and especially influencing the young. And eventually they will pay for their deception in one way or another. Arena in the arena. And that looks like the Portman. They've all got great hair, but in some of the other pictures that I found, this person's almost bald. Right? I mean, like I said,
the hairline, isn't
me
it?
and Neil are 60 years old, right? And we've fortunately still got all our hair. Do all these girls all look like they're going bald, right? That's because they're not.
Yeah, the hairline is way...
It's right back on the top of her head. Anyway, on top of his head. But anyway, I just thought it was amusing. On a lighter note, because we do like to have a little dig at the old you-know-whats, especially when they're... there's old Serge's potatoes there. First lot of potatoes, very good. But anyway, that's all we were going to say on this matter, and I will put a link in, and I do think that it is very important to fully understand what these bods are capable of doing. And when you look at what has gone on through so-called history, it's happened over and over and over and over again. And what I did say in last night's one was we went to see the dentist the other day, and on Wednesday, wasn't it? Yeah. Tuesday. Which I think I said in the other one, and he's onto everything, and he went along with everything as well, and he now realises that he's been lied to, and he wasn't happy about it at all. So that's a good thing, right? Funny how Congo speak French. Bonjour, bonjour. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's all we wanted to say on this. And like I said, anybody wants to debate you on this, you can just show them the list of things, the compounds that are in these fuels that are being sprayed over you without your consent, and there's nothing you can do about it.
No, it's only going to get worse.
You cannot get out of the way of it.
Mm-hmm.
If it was something in the sea and you don't live by the sea, you can get away with it, can't you?
Of course you can.
But it's the air that we breathe. So there you go.
But I think more and more people are starting to question what is coming out of the air. You know, when they see their car covered with, well, they say pollen, but I think people are becoming a bit more aware, and it's there in black and white. You can't miss it.
They've taken people to court over it and proved within a shadow of a doubt, and then the judge turned around and goes, "Oh well, there's not really a case here. Case closed." And because they're all in the back pockets. And I was listening to a very interesting thing downstairs earlier on about what all the signs and symbols mean, like the store-bought hat at university, why all the black robes and everything like that. Quite interesting. Jordan Maxwell, the only thing that Jordan Maxwell drops a bollock on is he keeps talking about us living on a certain round spinning ball. So I'm afraid that's where he shoots himself in the foot, because like we said, if he's telling people about the lies and deceptions, then that is one of the biggest ones, isn't it? But quite interesting where all the black square comes from.
Yes.
Very interesting. Anyway, okay guys, well we'll leave it at that. Thanks for the old comments, Fariel. Anytime, mate. Always good comments and pretty useful as well. So
good luck with the eyes, Jane.
Yeah, good luck. Everybody who's got sore eyes, sort it all out.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave it at that, and hope you're all having a good week.